Hello, I'm Ari, and this is Shamelessly Creative. Today we're going to do a grid swatch. I have a skin tone swatching and portrait using some of these same colors, but because there was so much footage, I made it into two separate videos. So this is part one, the grid swatching. So this will take you through the whole process of swatching out a grid of 7 colors. And then the part two will take you through skin tones and a portrait. So let's get started. Before you begin, you'll want to tape out a grid based on how many colors you're choosing to swatch. Or you could just make a grid or print out a grid or print a table and then use those squares as your pattern. You also could use a stamp to stamp out the borders for your grid. So pause the video and figure out how you want to set up your grid. I'm using 7 colors in this video, and you should be able to follow along with what I'm doing. The colors I'm using are Tin Yellow, Brilliant Yellow, Vermilion, Burnt Sienna, French Raw Umber, Prussian Blue, and Ultramarine Blue. But you can use any colors that you have on hand and do the same thing. Just make sure to label your grid appropriately and focus, because it is easy to get confused as you're going along. Okay, so what I thought about doing is kind of doing a skin tone palette. Now I made a chart that has 7 colors because these would be probably my go-to. My only concern is I would probably add in an 8th one, but my paper, I guess I just made my chart way too big. My paper, I need one more dark, like a Castle Earth or maybe an ivory. So, but I'm going to try to mix a darker color and maybe show you some samples down here. So this is the Poems About You that we just swatched. I've done this a couple times in my book, as you can see. These are the Daniel Smith colors. But now this is also a way I swatch my book and kind of get all the values. I kind of do everything in here. This is my swatch book. So sometimes when I'm trying them out, I just do something like this. Sometimes I do circles. Sometimes I just swatch them out, just so I have the colors in the book. Yeah, eventually I'm going to organize all my colors, probably on tags. In one of my art haul videos you may have seen, I bought some stamps to make tags, and that is the plan. And then group them by company. But that's going to be like a big organization project. So here are the colors. In this set I used the Brilliant Yellow, the Vermilion, Burnt Sienna, Ultramarine Blue, and Hooker's Green, just to play around with kind of a primary set. So if you wanted to buy just a few of Poems About You colors, this kind of gives you an idea of some colors that you can create using those colors. But just know that there's so many colors in between. You buy 5 colors, you're not limited to what you see on this page. There's so many more you can make. Different tones. You can take each color lighter or darker. So between here and here, there's going to be probably endless variation. Well, not probably endless, but you can take it this more red, or you could take this more yellow. And so you get your red yellow and your yellow red on either side of this mix. Same thing with the Ultramarine and the Hooker's Green. between here and here, you'll get more aqua. The more blue you add, you'll get your blue greens. The more green you add, green blues. So no, even when you're making these charts, it is not the limit of your palette. You can just keep mixing and mixing and find the colors you like in between. We're gonna swatch this out. I'll try to tell you what I'm doing as I go. But as long as I was swatching with Jessica earlier, I thought I might as well just keep swatching and try to get some of this backlog caught up so you can see these colors. So again, today for the skin tone chart, now I wish I had another red. I'm trying to think what I use in my other sets for my other red. However, so this isn't my ultimate skin tone mixing set. Most of these are part, except for the French raw umber and the brilliant yellow. All the other ones are in her, because the only yellow they provide is the lead tin yellow, which is this one here. Is available in her Rembrandt portrait set. So, but I usually like having another yellow, and I usually like another dark. I will try to mix some Prussian blue or ultramarine and red to try to get a darker color, but I'm afraid that this may not make enough dark skin tones. And that is, you want enough colors to make a full range of skin tones, of complexions, because we do not come in one color. So I always start by putting full forest color on my middle squares. So why I use Prussian blue and ultramarine blue is sometimes there's a reason I want to use one over the other. So those are usually the two blues. So for me, an ideal set has 2 reds, 2 blues, a warm and a cool of each. All right, so the next thing I do is I put down as many blobs of, so I'll need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blobs, and that is what I have. So I'll show you why we do that. So our first color we're going to mix it with is Brilliant Yellow. So we go in here and mix it. And I always kind of keep a swatch card. Like that color looks like I added just a little too much yellow, and you want a nice 50-50 mix. There, that seems more right. I think that's good. So then we move over to this square. Now for this side, we're going to use that same color, but we're just going to water it down a little bit. Now you can either use your brush or a dropper to add some clean water. I'm not sure what got on there. Right, and then we go on to our second dot, and we're doing tin yellow and vermilion here and here. So here's vermilion. That tells you what your next color to put in your pile is. So on reds and blues, it is not always 50-50. Vermilion and tin. So what I'm noticing about this tin yellow, I've never used it before, but I was picking out colors based on if I had to create a skin tone out of these colors, because that's the palette I have, how would I go about it? This is the way I do it. I work my way down the two outsides because we kind of fill in. So first I'll do all the tin yellow ones with the 6 dots, and then I will go to brilliant yellow and we'll have only 5 to mix. And then 4, then 3, then 2. I hope that makes sense. Because right now, all we're worrying about is the tin yellow on our palette, and then whatever color comes next. So we just did vermilion here. So we dropped down one, and now we're gonna mix tin yellow with the burnt sienna in our next dot. So what I'm finding with the tin yellow, it seems a little opaque. Almost like adding a white to your colors. Because see how pastel these are? You'll notice a big difference, I think, when we move on to the next set of colors. All right, and now we're going to French umber, French raw umber. So we're putting our darkest one up here, and it's hard to tell right now because they look so pale. All right, so now we go to our second color, which was the brilliant yellow, and we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mixes. So I'm putting 5 dots down. And our first one we're gonna mix is vermilion. Right away, I can tell that is just too red, so I need to add just a little bit more there. So now we want the orange So now with our yellow, we want the burnt sienna. Remember, you're always going for about a 50-50 blend. Something happened already. Yellow and burnt sienna. Yellow and burnt sienna. Oh, no, I'm okay. See, you can do these over and over and it still ends up being confusing. So if you're not catching this, forget about it. You know, you just have to do it so many times. And because I was worried I forgot this and this is where I was going, but I'm at French Raw Umber and Brilliant Yellow. Here and here. So that kind of turns a green, but sometimes you really want that for a base layer. So now we're doing Prussian and Brilliant Yellow. Oops, see, I keep dipping into, let's move this guy over here. So note the difference in the greens. All right, so now we're going to move on to 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need 4 blobs of the vermilion. So now we need a mix of burnt sienna and vermilion. Now, when you're mixing, let's say you go too far one direction. I think that's about a nice mix. You can test it. And you can add either direction to create 2 different colors. But I think we want this more of a maroon. Let's see. Now we're going to do our French umber, our raw French umber. And then we're going to add our Prussian blue. And our last dot is ultramarine. Now you also might be thinking, what am I going to do with these reds and purples? If you look at a black complexion, just like a white or Asian complexion, you'll see either reds or grays or blues, even some greens under white skin tones. And same with black skin tones. You'll see purples, greens, some yellows, yellow greens underneath. So using these under a darker color will create very vibrant black skin tones. So that is why they are on part of the palette. Plus your blues and like your green and red creates some browns. Yellow and blue create some grays. So we need all those colors. So now we're at burnt sienna and we need 3 blobs of burnt sienna. First one, we're going to mix with the burnt umber. So we have one more, which we want the ultramarine blue. If you're familiar, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna usually make Payne's gray. Oops, I almost did the wrong spot. All right, our next color is Prussian and we just need 2 blobs. We're going to mix our Prussian blue with our French umber. I'm going to try that one again because I feel like I didn't get half and half and then I played with enough. I almost screwed up. So our French raw umber. French raw umber, French raw umber. So I just need to double check. I have Prussian and all right, so that was a little frustrating. My camera dyed at just before we got the Ultramarine and Prussian. So as you can see, I went on to swatch more skin tones, and all of that footage didn't record because my battery died. So that is frustrating. So I think, so this is our whole chart. I think what I might do is just show you maybe some quick blending, especially the colors that I think you really is helpful to know. So the skin tone swatching will be in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below. The next video will be skin tone swatching and a portrait made with a mixture of these colors. I'm Ari, this is Shamelessly Creative. Thanks for watching. Bye.